Hello. Apologies if my voice is a little weird in this video. My throat's been like really strange lately, so there's a chance that my voice is just going to cut out completely, but we're hoping that's not going to happen. Okay, so with Pride Month drawing to a close, I thought it would be a nice idea to do a kind of Pride-themed video around sort of an LGBT type of show, and it also gave me an excuse to do this funky rainbow makeup that I've been wanting to try for a while and had no reason to actually do. So, yeah. So, I had to think about sort of different shows that I could review that were kind of LGBT related, and the first thing that came to mind was Kinky Boots. So I saw this show sort of several months ago when I first moved to London, actually. Speaking of, this is also my first video from outside of London in my, well, I want to say new house. It's not. It's my mum's house that I moved back into over the summer. But it's the first time most of you have seen it. So here we are. I chose Kinky Boots because although it's not about like, I don't know how to describe it, but it's more, although it's not specifically about like a gay character or like, there's a lot of shows about like, I guess, coming out stories and things. Whereas Kinky Boots is centered around drag queens, which I'm not really sure where they stand on like, the LGBT scale, because it's not so much a sexuality rather than a, I don't know what you would call it. Someone inform me. Someone who's really up to date with RuPaul, inform me like where that falls on the scale, because I'm actually not entirely sure. I thought it would work well for a sort of Pride themed video because it's a very like motivational, like, be you, be yourself. It's a very empowering, that's the word I was looking for. It's a very empowering show. So let's crack right on with it. So as I said, Kinky Boots was one of the first shows that I saw. In fact, I think it was the first show I saw when I moved to London. Obviously, I'd seen shows in London before, but it was the first one I saw when I moved up there. So I kind of moved there and I was like, okay, I'm going to go see shows all the time. What shall I see? And then me and my flatmates were talking about it, and one of my flatmates said, well, why don't we just look at what's on and what's cheap today, and let's just go right now. So we had kind of a browse through Today Ticks, and we came up with Kinky Boots. And they had a couple of sort of cheaper seats up in the top circle. So we were like, screw it, let's go see that. So off we went. And I'll be honest, it's not really a show that, I mean, it's a show that's interested me for a while. So I have the DVD of the film. I've had it for years. I've never actually gotten around to watching it, but it's something that I've always sort of wanted to see, but it's never been like top priority. So I'm kind of glad that I'm not really dragged to it, but I'm glad that I went to see it because it's a really, really good show and I had a really great time, and I would recommend it to anyone. In fact, I have recommended it to everyone that's asked, like, if it's any good, what to go and see, blah, blah, blah. So let's jump right in with what it's about. So should we start with the plot? Let's start with the plot. So it's based on a true story, which is one of the most interesting parts of it. So the story is about a shoe making company in the 70s, I believe, called Price and Son. I'll come back to the true story in a second, but basically, yeah. So in the musical, the guy that owns the factory passes away unexpectedly, and his son Charlie takes over the company. But they get like this huge order that comes in for all these shoes. They produce all these shoes, and then it's like a ghost order, and no one actually ever claims them. So then they're like behind on their orders and whatever, and they've got all these shoes that they don't know what to do with, and they're running out of money. And at the same time, it's becoming cheaper for people to just import shoes from other countries rather than have them made here in the UK, which is where the show is set. So they're kind of screwed. It's rapidly looking like the company's going out of business. Charlie feels like he's failed his father, and all these people that are employed there are going to lose all their jobs and stuff. So it's a bad situation. And they're all sort of desperately looking for ways to keep the company running. And then one night, Charlie unexpectedly runs into a drag queen named Lola. He actually gets mugged, Charlie does, and Lola comes and saves him and takes him to her show. And they get talking, and Lola complains that they don't make high heels for men that will support men's weight. so that even though they can get them in their size, they don't, like, the heels just break, and that's a problem. So Charlie thinks, well, I can make you a pair, and I think he offers to make Lola a pair to repay her for helping him out. So he does that, and then he thinks, actually, there's a lot of demand for this, so I can use this to sort of keep the company running. But some of his employees, like I said, it's the 70s, people are very sexist, they're very ignorant, they're very homophobic, etc. Particularly there's like this one guy that's really not comfortable with the situation at all, and he's very vocal about it. So it's kind of the idea of sort of Charlie's a bit afraid of what he's doing, but he needs to do it to keep his company going, and then Lola ends up coming in and working at the company as well, and she brings a load of other drag queens, and you get these really cool dance sequences that actually I'm going to talk a little bit about, because there's a few in particular I really like. So basically in the factory, which is where the main show takes place, you've got all these like conveyor belts that the shoes come in on, and they're like these big treadmill-y things, and there's several big group numbers and a couple of solos where those treadmill things are actually walked on and used as treadmills in the songs. And that's one of the highlights of the show, is grown men in huge heels dancing on a moving floor. Like, that was amazing to see. I couldn't do that. I don't know how they did that. I have a lot of respect for that, because that looked kind of terrifying. Even just dancing on, like, if you've ever seen videos of people trying to dance on treadmills and they go flying, it was like that, but really good. So yeah, I mean, overall, like, and there were a lot of numbers where it was just like really big, like feel good, happy, dancey group numbers, and at the same time there was some really slow, emotional songs as well. Like it was a very, I don't want to say up and down show, but it definitely, like, you felt involved, and it made you laugh, and it could also make you cry. Like, that's what you want from a good show, and this was undoubtedly a good show. Like, I have a lot of praise for this. So yeah, one of the big things about this is the connection, for me at least. One of the main things that I was interested in is the connection between this show and the true story. So I did a little bit of research, and I'm assuming the true story definitely took place in the 70s. I couldn't find an actual date for, like, the time that it happened, but I'm assuming the 70s, because otherwise why is the show set then? So the real company was called W.J. Brooks Shoe Company, that I think might be still going, but they don't just make shoes anymore. They make, like, handbags. I think they make clothing. They also make erotic toys. They kind of branched out into a bit of everything, which is understandable, really. And they were based in Earl Barton's here in England. And yeah, they were, so it's a similar situation, and sorry, there's something that my cheek is bothering me, I don't know why. So if I keep doing that, it's because of that. I'm not just being weird. I'm usually weird. So the story has some truth in that the original company was taken over by the owner's son, except in the true story, the owner didn't pass away, his son just took it over when he got too old to continue working there. And it was similar in that they were low on money, not because of an order that didn't come through, but because of the fact it was still cheaper to import shoes from other countries, and that was to do with something changing with, like, the value of the pound or something. So yeah, they were kind of running out of money, and the guy that took them over, I couldn't find his name, but I'm assuming he's Brooks, that took them over, was looking for ways to make money to keep the company running, and a fetish store actually contacted them. A fetish store called Laces in Folkestone contacted them because they were running into trouble trying to find a permanent supplier. They actually contacted them and asked them if they'd be interested in producing fetish shoes, and obviously it was kind of a win-win scenario for both companies, so they went along and did it. So other similarities between the show and real life. So both Charlie in the show and the real guy ended up modeling the shoes, which made a quite nice number at the end. So there's, like, I guess it's not really spoiling it because I think he's wearing them, like, in some of the posters, but there's a really nice big number at the end, and Charlie comes out in, like, underwear and these boots. And that's quite funny, and it's just a really nice moment. It's kind of a very nice coming together situation. So another thing, both the show and real life. So in the show, the thing that really motivates Charlie to keep working is they get invited to showcase their boots at the Milan fashion show. I think it's Milan Fashion Week they go to. So it's all kind of building up towards that, making sure they've got all the orders ready, making sure that people are actually going to support them. And yeah, so Charlie ends up modelling in that along with Lola and the other drag queens and a lot of other people. In real life, the company, when they started working with the fetish wear company, they were contacted by the BBC and asked to perform in a show called, where did I write this down? In a show called Trouble at the Top, in which the Brooks guy modelled. In real life, the BBC actually nicknamed WJ Brooks' shoe company as the Kinky Boots Factory, which is where the name comes from. In the show, Lola comes up with the nickname, which I think is quite funny. Not funny, I just think it's quite cute that the company was actually nicknamed that in real life. It's not just the name of the show. I find that quite cool. So, the show itself is based on a film. As I said, I've got the DVD in there. That's why I'm pointing over there. The film came out in 2005. It's an independent British, well, I say independent. It's a British film. Most of British films are independent because, let's face it, not got a lot going on. So the show opened on Broadway in 2013 and transferred to London in 2015 with playwright Harvey Fierstein, and Cyndi Lauper actually did the lyrics and she was the composer, which is really cool. I really like her work and it's nice to see her doing this, and it's probably why the show's got such a fantastic soundtrack. So I was going to talk a little bit about the songs. So one of the things I really liked about the show, one of the main highlights for me, is there's a character in the show called Lauren, who kind of keeps to herself for sort of the first half, I guess, of the show. You wouldn't really realise that she's going to be a main character until she kind of develops a crush on this guy, Charlie. So she works at the company. And she starts to like Charlie, and she sings this song called History of Wrong Guys. I think it's nicknamed Charlie because she sings that, like, that's the main part of the chorus. And I just really like that song. It kind of came out of nowhere, and it's just a really funny, brilliant solo, and it's immediately become one of my go-to, like, audition songs, because at the same time as being a really strong female solo, it's also very funny, which I usually go for with audition songs. Like, I like to go comical. In fact, I might do a video on audition prep and like the things that I go for and the things that I tend to avoid when it comes to monologues and songs. So I'll talk a bit more about that in that. But yeah, one of the things I usually go for is funny. So yeah, it had a really good soundtrack, particularly that one. It's also, as I said, very empowering. So there's a song, Raise You Up, and I don't know if it's the same song, but there's the one that's like, be who you wanna be, and I really like that one. That's like their big one. Well, actually, they've got a lot of big ones, but that's one of the big ones. And it's just a really good, like, feel-good show that you come out singing. It's like singing the songs and loving it, which is what I want from a musical. So yeah, and as I said, the dancing was fantastic. The costume is brilliant. It definitely has to be, because the shoes are literally the name of the show. The shoes are gorgeous. I really want some. Like, I really want some. I think everyone that sees this show wants these boots. But the rest of the costumes are fantastic as well. Like, everything the drag queens wear are beautiful. And yeah, the whole show just has a really nice look, especially considering that most of it takes place in this sort of factory setting. One thing I quite liked, actually, is the sort of transition between so they show the inside of the factory with all the treadmills and this balcony bit, and it's really nice. And then they actually bring, like, the walls across and the sign down. I think there's one point where they change the sign from Price and Sons to Kinky Boots, or they put, like, a boot on it. And that's really nice. Like, the transition between inside and outside is very smooth and very nice. So yeah, I think that's everything that I wanted to discuss about the show. Overall, I really enjoyed it. It completely surpassed my expectations. It was just a very good, feel-good, fun show. Like, if you're coming to London as a tourist and you just want a nice show to go and see that's a bit different to the big one, like Wicked and Les Mis and Phantom, the things that everybody goes to see. If you want just like a bit of a different show that's just a really feel-good, fun family show, I would highly recommend this one. So it's on currently at the Adelphi Theatre, which is slap bang in central London. And yeah, I give this show a solid 4.5 out of 5 boots. So thank you. I hope you enjoyed this review. I hope you had a great Pride Month. If you're going to the Pride Parade, or I forget if that's already been, I think it's on the 7th. Unfortunately, I couldn't go this year because I'm not in London. I've actually never been. I really want to go. But if you're going to that, let me know how it was. Did you enjoy it? Did you go see Kinky Boots? Have you seen it? Did you really enjoy that? Are you planning on seeing it? Has this review made you want to go and see it? Thank you very much for watching. Like, subscribe, and comment, and I will see you soon.